Okay, here we are again, another segment of the virtual summit for leadership. I'm calling this Seeking the Path, but as you may have noticed by now, I've kind of wished I had called it All Sharing, No Selling, because that's what this is about. This is about giving you information. It's not about selling anything, although we do really hope, we do really hope that if you love a particular expert that you're hearing from, or if you have a need for their services, that they'll be the ones you'll go and check out. But certainly we're not going to try and sell it to you here. We're just going to share information, and thank you for being here. Very happy. I am Lynette Louise, otherwise known as the Brain Broad, because I travel abroad working with all kinds of brain dysfunctions and effectively hands-on, but I also speak and write and entertain. And that'll kind of make sense in a minute when you find out who today's guest is. But additionally, I wanted to point out over my shoulder here, you'll see way over there, you'll see that book. That's my new book. It's called The 7 Senses of Leadership. Brain Broad's Guide to Leadership Sensibilities. I'd really love you to check that out either on my website at lynettelouise.com or brainbody.net. Or you can go to Amazon, because everyone knows how to go to Amazon and just look for Lynette, and you'll see all my other books and stuff too, so it'll be really great. All right, so that's my yada, 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 all about me. Now let's get all about the reason for today's segment. So this is very, very exciting to me because, you know, first of all, I haven't actually met this person, and yet we have a relationship. And that's very much what it's like in the world of today. And it's very much what it'll be like for you as leaders. You're going to have to be able to create relationship via the phone, via the internet, via connection that isn't always in person. So David Albert Pierce is an entertainment lawyer. And when I needed an entertainment lawyer, I was advised to use David. And so all of our interactions have been on the phone or via the internet. And he was not only wonderful in that regard, but there's something very special about him that I want to share. Well, a couple of things. One is when I was raising funds to try and make my show that I had mentioned earlier for the Autism Channel now, but at that time it was, we're going to shop it and look around. He became my lawyer to shop it. And then I decided to put on the Autism Channel. And so I did that with donations. And David was wonderful. He donated. And I thought, well, that's really nice of him. How cool. But even better, he asked me to use my services for his godchild. And one more better, I started really paying attention to David. I was like, what kind of a lawyer is this guy with a heart? Lawyer with a heart? What's that about? An entertainment lawyer with a heart? That's crazy. So when I started looking, he does all kinds of events to raise money for all kinds of very important things. This is a very beautiful man who leads the world to become a better place. And I am proud to introduce you to David Albert Pierce. Now you can talk.
Thank you very much. Don't spread that around that I'm a lawyer with a heart. It'll ruin my reputation in business as a shark.
Like a shark has a heart?
That's right. I guess even a shark has a heart.
Yeah, even so, even so. So I know that because of the format of this, it's not sort of a designed podcast where we're talking about your services only. This is sort of to give information out in leadership. It can be a little bit awkward. So what I did was I came up with 3 questions that I'm asking everyone. And it's amazing because these 3 questions create the entire 15 to 20 minutes. So here we go. Question number 1. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is your definition of leadership?
See, I wish I had the answers in advance. I would come up with such a good answer. Leadership is the ability to corral people and get them to unify to achieve the mission and objective that needs to be achieved.
Okay, step 1, you're definitely a clear, well-spoken, careful lawyer. I love that you had to stop and think for a second, and I'll tell you why. Because there are so many answers to this question. Everybody's got a different idea of what leadership is. And so let's take it from where you said it. So it's the idea to corral people and get them to sort of agree and follow, right?
I mean, you don't want everyone just to blindly follow. I think it's the idea of saying we need to achieve an objective, and I'm here to help make sure that that objective gets achieved, and I need everybody's cooperation and input to make that happen. So it's not just a matter of follow me, but, hopefully inspire so that, you can best utilize the talents and resources of those that you lead. I mean, otherwise just do it yourself. I mean,
Right, right. And not only that, but it sounds like you're referring to, you can have a kind of leadership. A lot of people just use the term blanket, I'm a leader or I'm not. But you can be a leader in a project and a follower in another project, correct?
oh, absolutely. I mean, a great leader can delegate and leave, have several other leaders that, take from that point forward.
So how do you do it? So you create these events, and I would love you to share maybe just a story about one of them. And they're wonderful. How do you lead everybody to participate and become a partner in that?
Well, I mean, as far as some of the charitable events, those seem to be the easiest. I mean, much easier to lead than a business project where, I think there's more objectives, there's more things that can go wrong. There's actually people that may be pressing in an opposite direction to you. But my experience with the different charitable endeavors I've done is that when you're working with a charitable organization, I mean, even the loosest organization has structure and employees that are there for the sole purpose of helping you achieve your vision and achieve what you want to. And many of them, again, have the know-how and knowledge. If you're putting on a carnival or something as a fundraiser, I mean, for the past 3 years, we did a Halloween movie and carnival for the Leukemia Society, which I'm on the executive board for. And so much of that is simply put together through the incredible staff. And there's no need to reinvent the wheel of, well, where do we get the cotton candy machine, and where do we get a popcorn machine, and who rents out those carnival games and the big giant slide. The staff, because they do it so much and that's their job, or maybe they've never done it before, but it's their responsibility to get it there. We just kind of come up with the big broad ideas, and it's not just me, it's a committee that works generally.
Do you think that that's general knowledge, that it's actually easier to get together and create a charitable event, or is that a particular to your experience?
For me, I mean, I can see how some people might say, I mean, I think if you're charitable in nature, and particularly if you're in, if people have volunteered to be in a group, whatever it might be, they don't have to be there. So if they didn't want to be there and didn't want to contribute, they why would they be there? As opposed to in business, you might have some people that don't want to be there, but they need to be because it's their job. The charitable endeavors, I've always found everyone is very enthusiastic, very enthusiastic.
Something just came to mind for me on this. I've seen people really super fail when they've tried to do something where they're tagging on to a charitable cause, or, saying that it's a fundraiser, but their heart's not really there. And so I think it shows when somebody is trying to use charity to try to then get their fame or their fortune or their whatever it is. Have you come across that? What is on that?
The charities I've been involved with have all been very organic and important to me, that I got involved because of some personal connection. With the Leukemia Society, when I had my 40th birthday party, I put on a big comedy show because I happened to represent a lot of comedians, and I had the ability to put on a really great blowout birthday. And again, I had amazing staff that did everything. I kind of picked the comedians I wanted, and they, then I was involved in picking the food and how we're going to arrange it. But I had great staff that just ran with it. And then I just said on the invite, don't bring a gift, but make a donation to Leukemia Society, because that's what my father had passed away from. And then the day of, I said, hey, why don't someone run down to Leukemia Society chapter headquarters, and they must have brochures, they must have, donation envelopes or something like that. Go get a big stack of that and just, toss them around on different tables for people to make donations and pledges. And at the end of the night, we collected all that, and we tossed it in. We gave it back, and they contacted me and they said, who told you to do this? Why? Where did this come from? Who are you? I'm just a guy who had a 40th birthday party and gifts. I wanted donations. I thought that this would be the, I didn't want to sit there with an envelope collecting money. So we used your envelopes. And then once they spotted that, they said, maybe you want to come and do this on a more regular basis and be a part of our board of trustees. And, it was game.
That's like taking the advantages of your career and make it in another arena. I mean, you're connected to all these comedians, you're connected to all of these performers. So the second question is, what's your definition of success? And I was wondering, is that it? Is that your definition of success? Being connected to all these people, being able to do this stuff, or is it something else?
I have a couple of lifetime friends and friends from law school and stuff that, a couple in particular, that are always pointing out to me that I'm doing exactly what I always talked about wanting to do. I've always loved comedy. I always, in law school, before I even knew what an entertainment lawyer was, I said I wanted to do entertainment law. And, I came out here without any connections to Hollywood, but just figured out what needed to be done and did it. And I have one friend who's always good if there's ever, you're ever down for a moment or something, or even when I'm not, he always brings it up on phone calls. You're the only guy I know that is doing everything that he said he wanted to do, when he was 21 years old. And so I'm actually doing, if anyone had gone back in time and told me at 21 or 15 that I'd be working with some of the greatest, comedians in America and some legendary comedians, and know all these people and also actually be able to really contribute to what they do and make their life better, that kid wouldn't believe it. He would fall. He would just be thrilled to death. So
right.
I'm glad I can. So I guess that's success, knowing that I would make that 15-year-old or 21-year-old guy incredibly happy that this was the end result of hard work. So
for all of you who would really love to hear him name drop, my confidentiality is going to make it so that he cannot. But trust me, he represents some big names. So David, one of the things I've noticed and played with a lot is that it seems like, now that I'm almost 60, it seems like I could look back over my life and say the same thing. I'm doing what I planned. And I looked at all my children and I'm like, goodness gracious, they became who they wanted to be without even realizing it. So there's almost like our vision of self just sort of takes over. But there's something else, and that's the third question. It's describe the path. And when you, just a minute ago, were talking, you said you came here. You didn't really know what to do or how to do it, but you had this desire to be the entertainment lawyer, dealing with these people, and you just found out what to do, figured it out, one brick at a time, and laid it down. But for the person starting out, what is that path? Like, how do you do that? How do you figure out what comes next?
I was lucky that I went to a very good law school. I went to Cornell Law School, and I remember I was really dejected that I was about to graduate law school and not be able to get a job right in the entertainment industry. That every entertainment law firm said, go be a lawyer for 3-4 years and get some legal stuff under your belt, and then maybe come back to us. And I was talking to a professor and about that very point. And he said, look, go out to California if that's where you want to be. You'll start, do an area that you can at least enjoy. And I started off with labor and employment law, which I realized, I said, entertainment law seems to be a lot of labor and employment issues just in the entertainment industry. So I'll get that general background, and then maybe be able to move it. He said, go into some area that you at least enjoy. Just read up on everything you can on entertainment law. Write 1 or 2 articles on entertainment law. And hold yourself out as an entertainment lawyer, and you're an entertainment lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? It can't be that easy. You don't do that. And he's like, yeah, you do. He's like, and that's one of the benefits of coming from a quality school like Cornell. He says, if you do exactly that with your educational background, people will accept you as an entertainment lawyer. You just need to go out there and tell them that is what you are. And I was at a firm for 4 years, and I could have been very happy staying there and being a partner in Orange County, and it would have been a wonderful life with a wonderful firm. But it wasn't the dream. And I'll tell you something. And I was working, 80-hour weeks, and actually loving it, because I do love the law. But one night, super late at night, I caught, and this is incredibly funny, but it's the truth, caught one of those Tony Robbins infomercials. And
Tony comes up a lot.
And I bought the tapes, and one of my good friends, I told him I'd done that, and he's went, "Oh God, you shouldn't have done that." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Every person I know that has gotten those tapes has quit their job within 6 months." Within 6 months, I had I had started my own little practice in Beverly Hills, and I remember my father, before he passed away, came out and he saw I had gone from a beautiful national law firm with gorgeous opulent office to my first office was in a Class D building. It was a Beverly Hills address, but it was such a dilapidated building. And I remember my father could not mask the disappointment or more, I think it was concern about what I had done. I mean, the office was such a disgrace. I mean, I'd never think of taking a client into the office, because if they, so we always were meeting at restaurants. I probably spent more on lunches than I did on the rent that I was paying.
Oh my goodness.
and then I had my new, and then one of the first things I did when I started my own practice was I adopted a dog from a rescue center, because I love dogs. Couldn't have one at my old practice. I'm my own boss, so I'm going to bring my dog into the office. And I had a couch, and the few clients that I did permit to venture in to see this just dilapidated office, they would sit on the couch, and the border collie lab that I had did shed a lot. And on more than one occasion, people would get up from the couch and they would walk out, and the entire back of their suit from the very top was covered, not just a little bit of dog hair, not like I'm saying, you couldn't even see what the color of their suit was. It was all just completely from head to toe dog hair. And I never once thought to say, you might have a little problem. I think let them find out in their own time, and just maybe they won't realize that it came from their lawyer's couch that they sat on.
That's so funny, but you are saying something that I'd like to hone in on before we lose track of it, and that is sort of like you just get started. And I understand that you just get started. You go ahead and you say, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to just get started in whatever way I can. I'm going to hold myself up as being this thing, and then I'm going to be it. But at that point, with your dilapidated office, but your good address, and your new clients, there's follow through. So let's talk about that for a second. If you were a lawyer that sucked, you'd have stayed in the dilapidated office, right?
I think that's safe to say. Yeah, I have no connection to anyone in the entertainment industry. And I know that a lot of my brethren in entertainment, they were born here. They have friends that work at every agency and every studio. I mean, they're all the advantages and connections in the world. But I just, consider myself a wordsmith. My colleagues here in my office, and I now have an office with 7 other attorneys. They laugh because it's kind of like Anthony Michael Hall at the end of The Breakfast Club, where everybody's paired up and he kisses his paper. There will be contracts that are signed or briefs that have been filed, and I'll still just pacing up and down the hallways, rereading the contract or rereading and just absolutely in love with the document and the choice of the words, and pointing out, this says we got the word in there and nobody caught it and nobody thought to change it to the. Do you realize how great that is for our client that this says instead of the? And little things like that it'll have me just reading a 50-page contract. They'll be going, it's signed, it's done. Why are you still reading it? As much as any screenwriter client cherishes the words on his screenplay, I cherish the words that I draft in a contract, and being able to say in as few words what other lawyers are saying in big, long legalese, put in short terms and have the same meaning or even more clear meaning. I mean, that to me is everything. And I've instilled it in the attorneys that I've trained, and I've everyone in here knows that you got to be, intellectual in the practice of law, which sounds silly. You think all lawyers are, but I think a lot of people just kind of want to be agents and fly fast and loose. I mean, to this day, I still, read the lawyer newspapers, every day that come out, and every day they have new cases that come down, and the first thing I do in the morning is, what cases have anything to do with my practice, and, circle them, read them, and circulate them to my other lawyers. And there's, that comes across both the intellect and the passion.
I am surprised. I never ever thought of it that way, that a lawyer, of course, a good lawyer would love the way they put the words together. And I never thought of that. Thank you. That was very eye-opening, actually. And maybe that's the point, to really, when you really love something, you see the things that other people don't, and you have more energy and passion for it.
It drives me nuts, like a cause if I still see the word telex or something in a contract. Like, this word was in a contract from 40 years ago. What the hell is a telex? It's like, and for that matter, why are you even saying fax machine now? And they're talking about, the notice will be recognized only upon registered certified mail and will be considered delivered within 48 hours. What are you talking about? We're going to put it in FedEx or another recognized carrier that has delivery tracking capability, and it gets there when FedEx says it got there. They either have a picture of it on the doorstep or they got a signature. Why are we using the mailbox rule that was adopted in 1930 for people to try to figure out whether a package actually got there or not?
This is great. Okay, so David, we have to make sure that people know how to get you, because what if somebody's watching this and they think, that's exactly the man I need? So tell them how to get a hold of you, and we've used our time already. So any special thing you want to share right now, and how to get a hold of you.
Well, I honestly didn't do this for looking for anything. I did it because I love you, and I'm still trying to come to terms with your introduction that said that we've never actually met before, because I've known you for so long, and you have been at the home of different people I know, and have worked your kind of magic stuff.
And I even came to one of your events, but we keep missing each other. So
I'm like floored that this is the first time we're actually seeing each other on Skype. I mean, because I guess I've seen your photo in book jackets and stuff, so I would recognize you on the street. But that's amazing. If you want to reach me, I guess www.piercellp.com. That's PIERCE LLP.com. That's going to be the website, and I'm sure there's a a box to click that will send an email to either me or one of the other people that check those mailboxes, and we'll help you out.
I will say,
Provide
I'm the lawyer who loves wordsmithing and is passionate and has a heart.
Yeah, what's that? I was trying to think that quote is, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Is that how they say it?
Or luck favors.
Opportunity is when preparation meets. I think
The one I know is luck favors the prepared, but I'm sure you're coming up with another one. But
I think it's luck is when opportunity meets preparation, or something like that.
Okay. Well,
and I'll give you one other. And Arnold, Arnold Palmer says golf is a game of luck. The more I practice, the luckier I get. And
I like that one. That was fantastic. Okay, David Albert Pierce, you've not only been an inspiration, but you opened my eyes to the very fact that lawyers aren't just, sitting there writing stuff because they like to make my life difficult so I can't understand it. Some of you love what you do and love your words, and I can relate to that because I love writing as well. So thank you for being here. And we will have another segment soon. So that's it. I'm Lynette Louise, the Brain Broad, and we've been listening to David Albert Pierce.
Thanks for having me, and I love your brain, both the one in your head and the giant one that sits behind you on the screen.
I love it too. Bye-bye, David.